Hi BookTube, it's Amy. So I'm here with a short story from Honoré de Balzac, and this is called Madame Firmiani, and it was published in 1831. So once again, as I've mentioned before, no translators listed in my edition from 1900, and my Google search was fruitless. I did discover the translations that it is not. But yeah, so this is a nice little short story from 1831, and I really quite liked it, and I liked how Balzac structures this story. So there's sort of three layers to Madame Firmiani. We begin farthest away from the story and the characters, with the narrator talking to us as the reader. And there's this wonderful little passage here that I think I'm just going to read for you. So he writes, "If you are thinking by chance of the dear friends you have lost, if you are alone and it is night or the day is dying, read this narrative. Otherwise, throw the book aside here. If you have never buried some kind aunt, an invalid or poor, you will not understand these pages. To some they will be odorous as of musk, to others they will be as colorless, as strictly virtuous as those of Florian. In short, the reader must have known the luxury of tears, must have felt the wordless grief of a memory that drifts lightly by, bearing a shade that is dear but remote. He must possess some of those remembrances that make us at the same time regret those whom the earth has swallowed and smile over vanished joys. And now the author would have you believe that for all the wealth of England, he would not extort from poetry or even one of her fictions to add grace to this narrative. This is a true story on which you may pour out the treasure of your sensibilities, if you have any." So Balzac sets this up as a true story. He's saying to us as the reader, believe this, it's real. I'm about to tug on your heartstrings. Unless you've known, deep, true emotion and grief, you're not going to get this story. And then he jumps into the next part, which is still removed from the characters. He presents to us this sort of theoretical room, this theoretical social gathering where we as the reader might wander through and ask, do you know Madame Firmiani? What do you know about Madame Firmiani? Have you met her? And in asking this question, depending on who you talk to, who you ask, you'll get a different answer, and you'll see two sides of her. To some, she is described as a widower. To others, she is a wife. To some, she is silly. To others, she is witty. She is both virtuous or immoral, rich, poor. She's gentle or devoid of soul, handsome or ugly. She is the most gentle, virtuous woman you've ever met, and she is a siren to guard your husband against. She is a mistress and a whore, and she is also the epitome of elegance and the definition almost of society and of success. Her name is synonymous with her house and with her Wednesday receiving parties, with her social circle. And the narrator tells us that some of these things might be true and some of them might not be, and that many of the people who will tell you about her have actually never met her. She is someone who is always at home and receiving people, but never goes out and is received. And so she's got some sort of status, but we're left in the dark whether she is a respectable woman of society, or whether she is an actress or a singer who used to be somebody's mistress. And there's an interesting line about how if you ask a duke about her, he will pretend never to have heard of her because they haven't been properly introduced. And there's another line about how she is rumored to have one of the finest voices in all Europe. And so she's really this mystery woman. But then Balzac takes us into the main chunk of the story, where we meet Monsieur de Bourbon and his nephew and heir, Octave de Camp. And Octave de Camp is sort of the main character within the story in addition to Madame Firmiani. But we are led through the story from the perspective of the narrator sort of looking over Monsieur de Bourbon's shoulder. And so Monsieur de Bourbon receives this rumor from a distant cousin that Octave has ruined himself over his mistress, Madame Firmiani. And so, like any good uncle, he goes into Paris, goes into the city to investigate and discover if this is true. And he goes directly to Madame Firmiani, who immediately charms him. And he himself can't quite make up his mind whether she is a virtuous woman who is in love with his nephew, or whether she is, the devil incarnate. And he leaves still not sure and goes to speak to Octave himself. And from Octave, he discovers that Octave has indeed ruined himself, but that it's not as black and white as the cousin made it out to be. In fact, Octave has done something perhaps ethically noble, and he has followed his conscience and sacrificed his fortune for the sake of that conscience. And he has given up his entire fortune and is now a private tutor for mathematics, living not quite in poverty, but essentially living in a garret and working as a tutor, living off what he can earn from teaching mathematics until the time comes when he will inherit his uncle's fortune. And so, of course, his uncle comes in and he says, Octave, what happened to your father's fortune? Like, did you gamble it away? Did you spend it all on Madame Firmiani? Which wouldn't make a lot of sense because Madame Firmiani herself is extremely wealthy. She has her husband's fortune, the husband who has mysteriously not been seen in several years. And it's just a delightful story with the sort of ending that tells you that virtue wins in the end. And this is quite different from the Balzac I've read so far, where the virtuous character who followed their conscience gets the happy ending. Because in previous Balzac stories, that's not exactly how things work out. Just because you follow your heart and follow what you think is right and marry your true love doesn't mean in a Balzac story that you are going to get your happy ending. In fact, you may be incredibly miserable. Virtue does not equal a happy ending in most of Balzac stories, which makes this one a little bit different. And I quite enjoyed it, and it's something I would definitely recommend if you've been watching along with these videos, but haven't started to read Balzac yet yourself, and you're looking for some avenue to begin to get into Balzac. This short story, Madame Firmiani, is an excellent place to start. It shows off Balzac's writing style, and it is incredibly entertaining and wonderful to read. So I would highly recommend that one. If you've read this one, let me know in the comments below what you thought of it, and I hope you're having a wonderful Saturday.